back to the Dual Comm podcast. I believe this is episode 17. Is that correct, Epos?
Yeah, it is. And
goodness.
we've been going a long time, man.
It's almost a year. So a year is, we looked it up, like the 21st or the 22nd or something of last year. And so we're just about a week and change away from that, right?
Yes. Exactly 10 days at the time of recording.
So what we decided to do, this will be a normal Dual Comm. And then when we come back from Thanksgiving, early December, I think we can do a 1-year anniversary show, talk about some of our favorite topics, that kind of a thing, if you're all right with that.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I am super stoked. I cannot believe it's been a year. It's been
best year.
Honestly, a game-changing year.
That's a great point. We could even just start right there. I would say for both of us, 2025 was full of a boatload of hardships and BS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I characterize the amount of BS and hard junk, real life stuff that has been thrown my way this year, and also your way, from what we've talked about offline. Nice voice squeak there, Dragoon.
What are you, 12?
But at the same time, it's been an incredible year, and I feel like I have grown and changed in a lot of like positive, nice ways. And I think that's so unique, where a year that maybe previous me, like younger me, might have just chalked up as like, what a dumb year. Can't wait for the calendar to tick over, even though it's arbitrary. I know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to the conversations we got to have on this show, and you've raised a ton of like late night thinking moments for me where I'm sitting in bed staring at the ceiling going like, why do I do the things that I do? And it's been pretty awesome. So thanks. I'm just wanted to show some gratitude your way. This has been a ton of fun, and I'm so happy we get to continue to do this.
Likewise, man. I would equate the 2025 to being like as rough as 2020 was for me. And I say that knowing that I was very privileged to not face a whole lot of pandemic specific issues. And I know a lot of people would have, and that's a whole other can of worms. But like the hardships of like, I had a kid that year and we were super isolated and things were really rough and weird. While obviously we didn't have the pandemic element, the amount of, just like you said, crud that came our way in real life and affected things, I 100% equate like how crappy this year was to about that level. And yet all of the growth and all of the life changes we've kind of played out alongside what we've talked about in the show has been instrumental in me being able to handle it, on top of like coming out the other end a better person, I think.
Yeah. Well said. Well, I think we start right away with the PlayStation 4, because you were completely right about that trend wave. So people who listen to the last Dual Comm podcast, I think it was the last one, where we talked deeply about how great the PlayStation 4 is and how, get ready, the YouTube videos are coming. You were like Nostradamus on that front, because the day that you uploaded your video cataloging your journey of the PlayStation 4, it's a great video, by the way. Everybody should check that out. I'll leave it linked in the show notes down below. Epos talks about all the different ways you can use the PlayStation 4, the different like prices that are associated with it, the soft mod stuff. Like, it is super good. Not to, super gas you up, but that is an amazing video. But on that very same day, MVG dropped his video on the PlayStation 4, which is just a weird, dumb YouTube coincidence, right? Isn't it funny when that aligns? And now I've seen like 3 or 4 others popping up around the same time. So I want to start there to just talk about it. How do you feel about PlayStation 4? And then also to remind people, I think we really are on a front edge wave of this. And I imagine if you don't have the system, you're going to see eBay prices moving up 10, 15, 20 bucks over the next month or two.
Yeah, so the TLDR, the PS4 is like an incredible value system right now, whether you get the Slim or the Pro. The Pro is obviously the far better system, and if you can swing for it, go for it. Frankly, in many cases, you're only spending 10 or 20 bucks more for it, and it's just a no-brainer to grab the Pro. You get higher resolution, auto HDR stuff, lots of cool stuff there. But it is a great system full of just a massive catalog of games that you can play on it. And they're not all exclusive. I know everyone wants to point that out. There, it may not have the craziest exclusives catalog, but if you were someone looking to get kind of what we're talking about in this show all the time, of that like immersed, locked in, focused gaming experience, the PS4 is a great console for it, especially if you just keep it offline. Like, maybe if you're not going to do the soft modding stuff, you can update it. That way you have updates for your games and whatever, but then keep it offline so you don't have the constant updates and the advertising and whatever. It has been, even as someone who literally, like, my PS4 Slim is sitting next to my PS5, like, having that just kind of focused system that isn't constantly spamming me with stuff has been a really nice system. There's tons of games to play on it. I actually just got my box in of my GameStop haul because they have a ton of games for under $5 even for the PS4. So I haven't checked that out yet. But like tons of cool games, lots of cool stuff on it. I think it is going to become basically the PS2 of its generation in terms of like a console that, I mean, it's already received 12 years of game releases and it's not stopping yet, which is bananas. Well, like we may see a PS6 when there's still PS4 games coming out, which is just unheard of. So I'm just really, really stoked on the value of it. I think obviously if you're someone who already has a PS5 or a PC and like all the latest stuff, then obviously you don't need something else. But for those who are still looking for the good value to have in games and a way to just have a cool system with a lot of cheap games to get in on a budget, especially with how expensive PC parts are at the moment, just a fantastic way to go. And yeah, in the last podcast, I was like, I can feel it. People are starting to talk about the PS4 more. It is at that perfect price point, that $100 mark, if you really hunt around for used deals, where it is just the perfect value proposition. We're going to start seeing a wave of videos. And that was like 3 weeks ago on the last episode of the podcast. And almost like exactly a week later, we started seeing one of the videos because we talked about it on Party Chat. And then now I've seen like 4 or 5 others since that episode went live. Yeah. Scooping my own video I was making about the trend I call.
It's like the worst feeling ever when there is no coordination and then you launch something and another creator launches something super similar. And truly, like behind the scenes, there's never coordination or whatever. It's just like, dang.
Yeah, the MVG video was like bananas. That was 2 hours before mine went live. My video had already been ready for days.
Yeah, I know. And you sent it to me like last week. I was like, this looks amazing, bro.
Yeah, because I was trying to get feedback and revising it. So like I have most of my videos on Lost Saves like ready a week early. And like I've chatted with MVG before. We're mutuals on some social platform. Like we're buds, but we haven't communicated about this. And so to see that, I'm like, wait a minute.
That's so cool. Well, okay, one of the things that really stood out to me, by the way, I'm thinking of the user who this makes sense to pick up, and I think you highlighted it pretty well. It's probably the console player that doesn't have an entry point into the PlayStation ecosystem. Maybe it's like an Xbox main or a Nintendo main and somebody who doesn't have a PC, right? And you were able to soft mod the PS Slim that you had, and I didn't even think about this. We've talked recently about Jellyfin, physical media, and having your own media server, essentially.
Yes.
And if you don't have the money to pick up a PC or a tiny little Raspberry Pi or all that stuff, I'm telling you, you blew my mind. I didn't even think about this. A PS4 is one of the best entry points at a very low cost into a physical movie and TV collection. If you don't soft mod it, guess what? You're just throwing your DVDs and your Blu-rays. Yep. Wait, you said it doesn't have a DVD laser, right?
No, it doesn't have a CD laser. You can play DVDs, you can play Blu-rays.
Well, great. Then you have, literally, if you don't want to soft mod it, you have the ability to throw your physical discs into this amazing, solid Blu-ray and DVD player. If it is soft modded and you throw in a hard drive like you did, oh my gosh, you literally are making your first steps on your home media server at a tiny cost. If you tried to build a Raspberry Pi, buy a hard drive, get an external CD drive or DVD drive, Blu-ray drive, whatever, you're not going to be able to compete with that cost. And then you also have the added benefit of playing the entire PS4 library. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you can set it up like if you do have another thing that you're building for like a Jellyfin server or whatever, you can stream to the PS4. Like that's fine. Even, you know, whether it's modded or not, you can get clients or it'll just play. The protocol that media streaming is done is called DLNA. And so like even if you don't have a specific Jellyfin app, if you have Jellyfin running on a computer or server, then you can still tune into it with your smart TV or PS4 or whatever. So like it can do most of your media things, like I said, other than CDs, which is just hilarious. But like it is such a good gateway to that. And for transparency, I have my PS4 release thing is a multi-part series. So I had the first video go up, but I will have a dedicated video just talking about it basically being your gateway into like owning your media again, because you get those games. One of the advantages that frankly I didn't mention in either of my first videos, but like the PS4 was kind of the last wave of games that are completely playable on disc without like updating, which has been awesome to see. And I kind of alluded to that with like being able to keep it offline and play, but like most PS5 and Xbox, modern Xbox games, you have to have some sort of download to actually like play them and launch them. Whereas on the PS4, every game I have put in, whether it either has to install something from the disc or it's ready to go. It has never once told me I need to connect to the internet and download something.
This is a great time to promote a website we've talked about before. I'm holding down a hiccup. I just chugged a bunch of coffee, everyone. Doesitplay.org.
Yes.
We're just going physical media to start the show. I'm super stoked on it. Doesitplay.org is a great website where you can put in the name of the game. You can look at the total library of like PS5, PS4, like every platform you can imagine, and you can find out, does your game work offline and does it require a download to launch the game? And right now for the PlayStation 5, 68% of the PlayStation 5 library does not require a download to play the game. And I think this is important because nothing is worse than buying your physical disc and then finding out, oh, I actually needed an update for this thing to work. And I think that's just, dude, I have become a zealot about physical in the last 2-3 months. Truly. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm actually leaning harder into PlayStation 5, like even if it's subconscious. I know GOG is there and it's amazing, and I keep saying it, but I think I actually need to put it into motion. My Steam library dwarfs. Why is library such a hard word to say? I swear, every time I hear it back on this mic, it sounds like I say library. I'm not. I promise you.
What's in your library?
Steam has most of my games. It does. I'm not a GOG person, and I need to be that way because part of me has this fear, as we have now seen time and time again, the incrudification of the world, our PG-13 version of it. Steam is wonderful, and I truly can't see a future where it's not, but there might be a future where that digital ownership is not really, you don't have it, man. You don't have it.
I have worried about my Steam library an unreasonable amount over the years, especially as it keeps growing. Like, I'm one of those weirdos that has 1,500 games on Steam. And obviously, I'm not going to be heartbroken over every single one disappearing. And frankly, I even have a category of dead games that I literally can't play anymore because some of them just don't work anymore. But that is a lot. Like that is my main source of any computer game released after like 2012. And so I've been working this year to checking and buying games on GOG first. I will be, even though it's not a good use of money, it's not helping my analysis paralysis. If games go on sale super cheap that I already have on Steam, I'm still buying on GOG as a backup. And I need to stop doing this to myself, but can I tease another project I've been working on?
Please do. Yeah, you should send me a picture. I'm like, I need to do that. That's so cool.
So I started in the spring and I'm kind of redoing things. I have been burning my GOG game installers to disk so that I have them in a disk binder, that I have backups kept offline. Now, you as the person listening does not need to burn them specifically to disk. You can just keep them on a hard drive, a NAS, in your Google Drive, whatever. But obviously, so GOG, if you don't know, is a platform where games are DRM free, which means that you don't need any authentication or servers to connect to or whatever to play them, which is huge for ownership. It means your copy is always going to be playable and no one can take it away from you. But there is realistically a world in which GOG itself shuts down. So you want to keep copies, if you care about it as obsessively as we do, you want to keep your copies of your installers in the games themselves. And so I have been taking ones that I really care about, and frankly at this point I'm just kind of doing them all because it's fun, and burning them to CD, DVD, or Blu-ray. And I even went kind of overkill. So I started out just burning them to disk and, using Sharpie, putting them in a binder, whatever, labeling them. I then found there is a company, because apparently like schools and businesses and the military and stuff still use like DVDs and make menus for them. So there is still a company that makes a CD launcher menu program active and in development. And so I've been making my own 2005 era like launchers where you put the CD in and it opens a menu and plays the soundtrack from the game and gives you like, do you want to install the game? Do you want to install this patch? Do you want to read the manual? Do you want to check? I have specifically links to ProtonDB, which is where you can check how it runs on like the Steam Deck and Linux and stuff. And so I have all those links in there, and like I've been doing custom labels and printing. My printer can print directly on CDs, so I have printable CDs and DVDs and stuff and print directly on them. I've been like doing it super professional looking, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've always had a bunch of disc binders, so I'm just keeping them in there. And the goal is obviously to have my games protected and preserved, and to kind of build in that ritual I'm always talking about of the experience of, like, if I don't know what to go play, I can browse my CD binder and more better, like, have a tangible feel of, like, what game stands out to me visually. Now, of course, you can go extra and make your own cases and stuff, but I have enough games on my shelves at this point that it just makes sense to just keep them in a binder and keep the waste to a minimum.
I think it's genius, and I really like that idea. And obviously, this is a passion project, and no, it's probably not applicable to most people, but it just gives you more of what we've talked about. The fact that you've made the artwork and you've made the CD and you've put that effort in, you probably have a much higher likelihood of going and playing that game rather than it just being a tile in your Steam library for the next 5 to 6 years that you bought because it's like, oh, it's $2. How can I not buy this? And unfortunately for me, a lot of my Steam library is a bunch of commitments and guilt because I was like, well, it's $2. Why not? I'll play that someday. And then anytime I open it, I'm like, yeah, analysis paralysis.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you browse a CD binder and you see, like, BioShock Remastered with the logo and the title and all this stuff, or like, whatever. Like, it looks really cool.
There's such a joy of getting a game in the mail. I had some GameStop points to use, and they got me. I didn't realize their system is so good. You can only use 2 of the reward tiers on any one order. So instead of spending my $15, I did spend it, but I ended up spending $30 total, which is probably a little extra than I needed to. But I got a copy of Mad Max for the PS4, which apparently is considered like one of the #1 underrated gems on the system. I know it's multi-platform, so I could have got it elsewhere, but whatever. I'm on my PlayStation kick. I got Sonic Frontiers for PlayStation 5, which is also on the PS4. This is kind of their, like, Breath of the Wild-y Sonic game. It's rad. Everybody, like, said this thing was so mid. I'm loving it. It is just like a perfect little session game. Very PlayStation 2-esque, but man, I'm just obsessed. This whole physical media thing is blowing me away, where so many of the movies that I've now been able to pick up and TV shows. Do you know how often I have watched The Office since I bought that $30 complete set, dude? Like, it's amazing. I have literally probably watched that thing now 4 months worth, and that would have been, what is Peacock, like $17, $18 a month ad free?
Yeah.
I could have bought 2 copies of this box set, given one as a gift. You want power and ownership and freedom and all these things that you didn't realize they've taken away from you back. We got to move towards the physical side, especially last little bit, I think, and then we can hop more into the game side. This smart TV automatic content recognition stuff. I sent you a video this week. This is one of the few issues that I am so deeply bothered by and disturbed over, and I want to shout it from the rooftops to everybody. Our smart TVs are spying on us. There's a feature called ACR, automatic content recognition, where it scans the images coming through your HDMI ports and sends it back to a data broker to build an advertising profile on you. I have a 2018 old freaking TV, and I literally got the notice this week. Hey, we've got a new feature we're automatically turning on to make your experience better. Let me just sum it up real quick, and then Epos can get down to the nitty gritty. It is literally taking screenshots of the content you have going through your TV. I understand it if it's through the smart TV OS. That sucks. That's hard to opt out of, but come on, I get it. They're collecting telemetry and sending it back to you. But you do not have a right to take screenshots of what's coming through my HDMI port, screenshots of SSX or Final Fantasy VII Remake, or what if you're watching home movies, and it's sending those screenshots back to a freaking AI data center that's then trying to build a profile about you and selling that info to a data broker. Like, I love $200 smart TVs, but that's why they're $200 now, is because they're subsidizing it now by selling your information. I don't know how this is legal. I get that's like, oh, privacy policy, terms of service, but this is something like a level of spying that bothers me to no end. What if you are literally casting family photos or whatever to your TV? Do they have the consent to ingest that crap and then realize, oh, Dragoon went on a trip to Sturkle and he bought this stuff, you know? Like,
No,
Sorry, dude.
it
I'm
is-
upset on this one.
No, it is a big deal. Admittedly, it was one of those things that I found a little like I am weirdly naive enough that I found it a little too unbelievable. I'm like, okay, I'm sure there's this one like, and not to trash any specific brand, but like a TCL or a Hisense or one of those
Yes.
brands that like
Yeah.
is already subsidized by pure spying in the first place. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. And no, it's every TV.
It
is every brand of smart TV.
Yes.
There is. We will try to have a link in the description. There's a Consumer Reports article showing you how to turn it off on most major TVs. And the fact that there's a list for so many brands shows you how pervasive it is, because we've got Amazon Fire TV Edition TVs, Android and Google TVs, LG TVs, Roku, Samsung, Sony, Vizio. It is on basically every TV, this feature, and it is something that you should follow the article and go turn it off. It's usually in your privacy settings, in your system settings for
and
the
they're
device.
buried, by the way, in multiple places.
And they are named all sorts of stuff because that's how every TV setting is now. And it is like you said, I don't know how it's not illegal. We think about like as an old head, I think about all of the paranoia that was around stuff like the V chip back in the CRTs, the like parental controls, where it's like the V chip spying on you and listening to you and whatever. And we didn't have the technology for that back in the 90s. We do now, and it's actually happening now. And instead, like no one's aware of it until recently, and it's horrible. And it's one of those things where, on top of like your obvious anger and what justified like frustration at the idea itself, I get even more mad because HDMI is already so controlled from the user perspective to prevent like the worst way, I will say, to commit piracy, which is recording the HDMI feed. Like I'm sorry, but if you're going to rip like media, you're going to rip it straight off the disc or something. You're not going to record the HDMI feed. But there's something called HDCP, which is HDMI copyright protection or something. I don't remember offhand, but it is an encryption.
PS3, you can't even turn it off. You have to get a splitter.
Yes. High bandwidth digital content protection. And it is basically most HDMI feeds are specifically encrypted so that you can't capture it or do it, like take your own screenshots basically without hacky workarounds and whatever. And yet our TVs are just happy because the TV has the handshake to decrypt that because it's supposed to just be a TV. They can now just do this. And yet we're not allowed to, as a user, to control our own stuff. Like it is so backwards and anti-consumer. And it's it is unacceptable. Like there needs to be some sort of regulation to stop this kind of thing. Like you said, there is a degree of reasonability of, if you're using their stuff, you expect some sort of fingerprinting, because that's just like, that's kind of inevitable. And while I don't think it should be the default, it's understandable to a degree, but this is not. This is far beyond that.
Think about the level of engineering that went into this. My old freaking cheapo HD TV that is like 7 years old at this point. They went back and found a way to deploy this update silently and automatically. And you know the performance is taking a hit. The little PCs they put in here are trash to begin with. And so, cool, I'm now losing performance. So you can literally capture screenshots and transmit it back. That is horrific. And I get it. They're like, well, we just want to know that you're playing Final Fantasy VII so we can send you some personalized ads on this. And what I will tell you is so frustrating too. These ads are, these settings, you know, are going to turn back on automatically with some stupid update and these new privacy policy things. And so truly, it was so hard to turn off on the Samsung, dude, and it was in so many disjointed areas. I turned the Samsung network settings completely off. I deleted all of it. And I might actually just do a hard refresh because I don't know if I trust that it actually forgot the connection and did all that stuff. So it's now effectively a dumb TV. And I'm going to look for what is the most privacy-oriented little box, like a Roku Ultra or an Apple TV, or is it just... Is the future truly everybody has to have a home media PC that they control? Because this is getting stupid, dude. This bothers me to such a degree.
I have always thought that it's a better life to never connect your smart TV to the internet in the first place for a variety of reasons. I'm now at the point where I think it's got to become the default. I am not ready to set that up at my at my main living room TV yet because we use the built-in Jellyfin app so much, but there is a remote you can get that I have. So super quick story. I have a CRT television on my kitchen counter where I watch DVDs and stream Jellyfin stuff too. And with that, I set up a Raspberry Pi, and there is a specific remote designed for Raspberry Pis and computers that can just control your computer these days. It's really fancy. So I am thinking we already have a computer in there for my kiddo to play Minecraft that's hooked up to the TV, and I'm already about to switch that to Linux. I'm going to get the remote set up for that, and then we'll just stream Jellyfin from there. Because frankly, Jellyfin, the TV app, has so many issues anyway, and like on our Samsung TV, there isn't a Jellyfin app, so we couldn't even use it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm nuking my TV's internet connection. It already has so many issues. Like it is 5 feet direct line of sight down the wall to my router, and it has so many internet connection issues somehow. And like my Samsung that we upgraded from to the fancy OLED we have now, like literally, you know, you were talking about performance, would just stop responding because it just got so much bloat installed to it, and I had to do a hard refresh of it already when we moved it to the bedroom. And that runs an Apple TV. So like I am at the point where
I've heard the Apple TV privacy stuff out of most of them is like pretty decent, which is a funny world where we live. They're the spearhead of that.
I hate to say it, you actually want the newest one. I have the 2019, 2020 one, which is still 4K, but it has the gesture remote, and it is the worst remote I've ever used in my entire life. It is a miserable experience. Now, I can fix some of it because I can actually control it from my iPhone. So, like, I can use my iPhone as a touchpad and type in because I got to type in my IP address for the Jellyfin app and whatever. But, like, it's still, since that's the Apple TV it still requires the, like, gesture control even on my phone. It sucks. But the newer ones have, like, a proper D-pad or whatever. So you want the newer one in that regard. But yeah, like I'm at the point where like I feel like everyone should just disconnect their smart TV from their Wi-Fi and just never turn it back on.
Yeah, especially if you're just using it to game with, get it off.
Yeah.
Get it off. There's no point. It's and look, it's not conspiracy. You can go read the terms of service. They're literally collecting voice data on you from your smart TV remote.
Yeah, my remote why does my remote need a microphone?
Oh yeah, talk. That's how we're gonna do the content. Dear Samsung, turn on Mobile Suit Gundam. Okay,
right. Please, remote, please play Boku no Hero Academia on Jellyfin. Playing.
This is the future we dreamed of
on Tubi.
So I'm actually right now just thinking like, all right, I'm gonna go find some generic cheapo remote on Amazon, assign the key to it, and throw away, like, or take the batteries out of this thing.
Take the batteries out, yeah.
Because I don't trust these dum-dums. Yeah. Like, this is not cool.
No. And it's
I'm not
really frustrating. Go ahead.
No, I'm just not one to, like, really lean into this stuff. I mean, for years, it's been like, okay, Grandpa, relax. They're not gonna, and now it's happening. And I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is, like, I don't know what it is, and I'm still in the process of setting up ad guard on my whole network so I can block a lot more ads. But like I really don't get a whole lot of advertising on my smart TV, and I don't know if it's because we just use Jellyfin and just use the HDMI input that like we just aren't in the menus to see it as much. But like we don't get a whole lot, and yet it's still collecting all this data anyway. It's one of those things where like it's not even serving its own function. And I feel that way about spying in modern technology so much. Like it's not even providing the service it's supposed to provide to me as if it were going to add anything to my life anyway. And yet it's still doing that. And I just think about like we still have people with internet connections that have bandwidth caps and all this stuff. And like on your mobile, you often have bandwidth caps for the month before things slow down and everything. And yet everything is using your internet connection to send stuff back that you did not consent to. That feels so illegal. And I don't know that law will ever catch up to technology. And it's just, I wish it were easier for companies to not be evil.
Dude, dumb TVs are going to be a thing again. Literally just like you have dumb phones. Now I'm like, okay, because you have all these amazing retro scalar tech companies that are making really cool stuff that scales your analog inputs into these beautiful HD resolutions and stuff. I could totally see a boutique TV brand coming out where like we're a smart TV panel that's privacy forward and we've got great scaling tech built in. I mean, that
it doesn't even need to be smart. Like you could, I mean, you could do it if you had the know-how, because like building the driver boards is annoying, but like you could do it. You could buy, because you can go buy just straight up OLED panels. So like you could just buy OLED panels, get the driver board set up, and just have your inputs. And yeah, if someone built in just like a proper like integer retro scaler and stuff, like I would pay good money for that.
Yeah, I would too.
We don't need the smart stuff. Like
no. Wow. All right, we'll leave the link to the article down below. Be cautious, and I'm telling you, take back what is yours. Yeah. This is not okay to be giving up this level of privacy. I learned, I think maybe we talked about it last time, but dude, Notion sells your freaking data to advertisers. Everything is turning into this attention economy BS, and it's all just to sell us more personalized ads. And I'm done. I'm over it. And like you mentioned, you don't see many ads. Dude, it's insane on Samsung TVs and Roku TVs. Like Roku, thankfully, like that OS, you have a lot of customization that you can do with the home screen. Like they give you a lot of access to all the little modules and stuff, and you can turn most of it off. But Samsung was horrific. It is absolutely stupid. And during Halloween, they're putting ads up for like nasty horror movies. And I am like, the advertiser profile clearly got it wrong because I hate that stuff. And I'm just turning it on and going, I bought this. This is my device. Yeah. Why can I not turn this nonsense off? And like huge ads for Battlefield 6. And it's like,
oh my God. Yeah.
No, dude, this is stupid. I just want to turn on. I made the joke earlier, but I have an old Blu-ray of Mobile Suit Gundam. I'm going through the movie versions of them on Jellyfin, and so I just want to turn that on. That's all. Why is that now a big deal? So anyway.
Even I have a set in my studio. I built this like video wall thing where I have 3. It used to be 4 TVs just vertically mounted on top of each other for like display.
Yeah,
and they are insignia Amazon Fire TVs. They were the cheapest thing I could find whenever I moved in here. I hate Fire TVs with a passion, but they were the cheapest thing I could find to put in the space. And it's like every update, I have to go in and find the crazy setting so that it just turns on and goes to the input it was on. Why do I have to crawl through some really, really slow menus to go to my input instead of it just turning on where I left it?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Think about this UX design. How many times have you gone to Netflix or a Hulu or whatever? By the way, I'm now on like month 2 of no streaming services, and I love life. This is amazing. How many times have you tried to find that row that says what you were watching recently? They moved that row intentionally so that you interact more with their suggested algorithmic junk. Is that not insane that they are? It's no longer like this. We're willing to sacrifice user quality and user experience in order to advertise. It is so deliberate that they're making the experience worse because they need you to click on this other junk that they think you'll like. Also, they can give back to the execs the BS stats of CTR and watch time and things that truly they don't matter. They really don't matter. And I think let's shift right now into this Xbox TikTok thing because it plays perfectly. So tell me about this presentation.
So, Mr. Sat, CEO of Microsoft, put out, was a part of this presentation where he has been quoted as saying that the game business model I'm just reading the quote, has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well, because after all, gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short-form video, referring to TikTok and whatever else. Now, we're going to talk about the quote. My biggest frustration is how weirdly, like, and I'm going to be insulting here, but like dense the press is being about this. Like every article I have found about it, and the article I'm looking at is Paul Tassi. He's like, I respect him. Good dude. Does a lot of good journalistic work.
Destiny the show days.
Yeah. Like, not insulting him, but every single like even this specific article says makes no sense. And every single article is like, well, what? Are they going to make 30-second games? What are we talking about here? And I do not understand how this is like so confusing to people, because we were just talking about on the show like a month ago how the average game time has plummeted because everyone is spending time on TikTok or watching streams instead of playing. Gaming is competing with TikTok right now. He's not saying we have to make 30-second slot machine feed video games that fit into, like, he's not saying that, but genuinely actual playtime is being decreased because people are spending time on these other things. So I don't understand what's going on in the like writing world where no one has picked up on the context here. But it is a very interesting scenario where we've talked about the investment is no longer focused on games for games. It's focused on scaling capital returns, and that's why everyone's throwing in AI, because the investors are leaving the gaming industry for AI. And we had I talked about the whole Alana Pierce video breaking all that down. We're also seeing that games have to prioritize other things because they have to grab your attention and hold it from TikTok. And it's just one of the, like, every factor like this that gets included by the big publisher side of things takes away from games being games. So as much as I'm complaining about the confusing, like everyone acting confused about this quote, ultimately it is a mess when it comes to the games we get out on the other end of it, because the executives are not focused on making the best quality, most, enjoyable games possible. They are making decisions based on, like you said, click-through rates, watch time, retention.
Line go up. Line must go up. And I'm going to tell you, line go up forever. Infinite growth is a fallacy. It's that's not how any market works. You cannot just grow forever and ever and ever. There is a saturation point, and then there are natural movements. Within a free market, there are ups and there are downs. If there are only ups, when the down comes, it's not healthy. It's a crash. And I'm kind of skimming through this. When he alludes to like, are they going to make 30-second games? No, dude, he's literally saying we got to get the kids. The kids aren't playing the games as much because they're watching the content on their phones. Right. And it's like they're doing what they think is going to help pull them away. They're like, how do we remove every barrier to get that audience in? We're not going to sell an expensive piece of hardware. You can stream the game on their phone. Oh, TikTok's on their phone. That's how we're going to get them. Oh my gosh, Xbox is everywhere. Everything's an Xbox. Yeah. And Game Pass, we're going to make it so easy to get in there. And they love subscriptions. This is going to work. But I'm going to read the last paragraph here that Paul writes because I think it's pretty good. And I quote, I'm not sure the Xbox brand will even exist in this coming era. And its hardware plans, like this extremely expensive quasi-PC, don't sound like something that would reverse Xbox's hardware sales failures the past few years. The idea of putting its games everywhere only boosts competitors like Sony, and it is reaching ceilings very quickly on its beloved Game Pass, desperate to extract more money from it by hiking prices a full 50% this month. And all of this competes with TikTok. How exactly? End quote. I'm going to throw a few speculative things out here. I do believe short form video is an exceptional bubble. I believe that TikTok has captured a particular generation. I believe that short form video will always exist in some shape or form. But I am telling you, just as many of the listeners of this show have woken up to the garbage of the attention economy, brain rot, and all of this engagement-driven nonsense that we're living through, the rest of the world will slowly but surely wake up to that. In 5 or 6 years, it's not TikTok. There'll be a new market disruptor. Seriously. And so I'm worried about the future, not just of Xbox, but Microsoft. Because as we're seeing this automatic content recognition stuff on smart TVs, doesn't Windows 11 have some coming feature that screenshots the desktop or whatever?
So Windows 11 has had like 3 years worth of added spying features at this point that gets called out every few months.
Yeah.
The latest one I saw was there was some stuff where they would hijack your clipboard. There's a new one where if you use the Xbox Game Bar to take screenshots or video recordings, it will analyze that and submit that up to the cloud. And obviously the Xbox Game Bar is probably pretty niche in terms of use. Like even if you're recording clips on your PC and stuff, most people aren't using that. But the layman that doesn't know about anything else is going to use that because it's right in front of them. And if like my kiddo uses it to take Minecraft screenshots because he has the Xbox One controller that has the share button on there and it interacts with the bar and takes the screen. Like it's there. So Windows 11 has been pumped full of spying things, and they have become so user hostile that we are seeing an unprecedented shift away from Windows as a response, because they're locking people out of being able to use it without a Microsoft account. They've basically eliminated all workarounds now. They've made it so that you have to upgrade hardware to get Windows 11 if you're on something that would run perfectly fine.
Yep.
While end-of-lifing Windows 10, like it's a big deal.
And I hear all this, and I'm actually like, do I have to move to Linux? Like, is that if I'm following this train, eventually I feel like a Linux transition is there, but then the gaming performance is gone, and I feel caught in this. We're in a point where it's like, what am I supposed to do?
So the fun thing is that you only lose out on gaming if you play live service games.
Single player stuff's decent.
Single player stuff runs amazing. In some rare cases, it can actually run better than on Windows. And the only real incompatibilities at this point are either a game you get day zero and maybe needs an extra little patch to be running on Linux properly, or the kernel level anti-cheat for a couple live service games. And the annoying part of those is pretty much all of those have Linux compatible versions of the anti-cheat developed by the anti-cheat companies to get you to play them on Linux, and the developers like Epic, like Tim Sweeney for some reason just hates Linux and decides that no one can play on Linux, so they don't implement it. But yeah, you're losing nothing in terms of being able to play games if you're off the live service bandwagon. And that's the really fascinating part, is that that's kind of a natural step in the process of like taking back your ownership and respecting yourself and wanting to be treated right as a consumer. Like as you step away from that, you then have these options where you can switch to Linux, you can do whatever. Like we're getting there. By Christmas, I will have no more Windows running on any computer in my possession. And for the longest time, I have been moving that way for years and years, but I've always kept some things on Windows so I could cover them for my main channel job. Because if I'm making like a tutorial on something, like Windows is going to be the default platform that most people use, so I wanted to have it available to cover. I am at the point where like I am ruling that out. I am taking the hit. Like, it's not worth it. I would rather encourage people to switch to Linux and take the hit of not being the one to provide the guide on Windows, because it's not worth it. Like, my wife is ready to switch, and it's been like, I haven't pushed it. I have never once thought, okay, I'm going to try to convince my wife to upend their computer usage and learn all this new stuff, because it's just one of those things where like we care about it, and when we're motivated for it, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
But like trying to push that on someone else who isn't as motivated is never a good time. And like she has asked repeatedly over the past 6 months, like, all right, at what point should I consider? And she's still running Windows 10. And so it's one of those things where it's like, all right, every time it gets a full screen, like lock you out thing saying, hey, you need to upgrade. She's like, all right, it's time. So switching my wife over, switching my kid's TV computer over. And the only real hiccup with that is his main thing is Minecraft Bedrock, which is annoying to run on Linux, but like it's fixable. It works.
Yeah.
So that's getting switched. And then once we do that, I'm switching over my little stream tutorial PC in the studio over, and we're just done. Like I hit my microphone. They've lost me. Like I can't justify it. And I think we all have different thresholds for, like you said, with the TV stuff, with the physical media stuff, we all have different thresholds for where enough is enough and we want to take it back. And I'm going to continue to be an advocate for all of these things. We cannot tell someone when it's time for them, but all we can do is keep presenting the scenarios that push us over the edge. And eventually one of them you relate to. Eventually you get burned.
Yeah. I think that is the next stage in the journey. And, the Jellyfin PC is probably where that journey begins. And I know there's a lot of tinkering, but there's a lot of joy that comes from that personalization and that extra time and effort put in.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Windows 7, I remember that was the OS that I played most of StarCraft 2 on. I kind of loved Windows 7. And I remember when I had to move to 10, I was like, this is a downgrade. This does not feel like an OS. I feel like they're just trying to get more modern and corporate. And then Windows 11 has just kind of sucked. Every time I've used it, I've been disappointed with it.
Yeah. So I have to admit, like, I'm eating my own words in the past here, because I was someone who did not understand the people that stayed on Windows 7 as long as possible. I was one of those people who was like, well, I mean, I jumped to 8.1. Like, I jumped to 8 and then hated it, and then 8.1 was great.
Yeah.
And it was great in the context of 8.
Yeah.
But like, once we got to 10, there were so many modernizations and stuff. I was just like, and people even back then were complaining about the spying and things like that. But the truth is, a lot of that was still happening on 7. We just didn't know about it. And so with that knowledge, I was just like, I don't understand. Why would you want, like, there's so much that's better on 10. And then with 11, I switched pretty early because 11 has a ton of HDR features that really like fix HDR, whereas HDR on 10 was like really not usable for a long time. And there's still a lot of features that are locked to 11, which is dumb because 10 is literally just like a service pack update for 10. 11 is like a service pack update for 10. It's not a whole new OS. But all that aside, I used to not understand why people would stick with 7. I understand now. In a way, like, that is enough of an act of resistance in and of itself that it makes a difference. And it pushed Microsoft to, unfortunately, do worse things to force you to switch. In an ideal world, that kind of resistance results in compromises, not more aggressive and hostile behavior, but that just shows their cards even more. And it's the same way with, like I said, with 11, I switched pretty early because I wanted the HDR stuff. But now, like, the more and more I see of it, like, my wife has had a much better time staying on 10, other than now the constant assault of you have to upgrade soon notifications. And the people who wanted to stay on 7, I think, were right. Like, you liked it more, it was better, and I would have stayed on XP for a very long time. If I could.
You got an XP rig, bro.
Yeah,
you got the coolest XP rig I've ever seen.
Yeah, but we are at the point where any choice that is not basically going along with what they're demanding of you is an act of resistance, and that is important. Like, I don't know where we go from there. I don't see Microsoft turning around, and that's going back to your, like, concern for their future. I don't see them turning around because, frankly, their bottom line is not dependent on us end users. They don't really, like, you can, and in some cases are expected to pay for your copy of Windows, but like they gave you could use Windows 7 and up keys to activate Windows 10 and 11 because they really don't care about you paying for it because you are the product at this point. Yep. And their business is in enterprise, large scale server infrastructure, government contracts, all of that stuff, and your data.
They have a monopoly. They own the world's OS. Like, weren't they still doing like service pack updates for XP for government PCs like recently?
Yes.
That's wild.
But like their business model is not dictated by us, the Windows user buying and still using Windows, or the Xbox customer buying and still using Xbox. Like, we do not affect their bottom line. So we are not necessarily going to have an impact other than by just shifting the whole like paradigm and the trend. And so
it makes me want to upend. By the way, this will probably be our last little like pitchfork topic. So I know we've been like on the soapbox, and I hope everybody's like stoked on it, but not like getting tired of this. But look, it makes me want to buck the system. It makes me want to upend this current advertiser-driven economy where like I just cannot see how this doesn't end in a massive disaster where we have so much money being spent on collecting telemetry and info on us to sell back to data brokers who inevitably show us commercials and crap. But like that doesn't work. Advertising like doesn't really work anymore on me. Like, I hear all this stuff and it's become so disingenuous and so inauthentic, and it doesn't move the needle for me. And I just want, like, I'm encouraging people to like upend that system. And I get the irony. We're on YouTube right now. Yeah. And there are like customized ads that are showing to the people listening to this. And like,
especially
I get it.
On a 2-hour podcast, there's a lot of them.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm doing a whole series talking about getting offline right now. And people are like, the irony of this being on YouTube. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get the irony. And like, how cool is it that we're given free bandwidth right now to share this video? It would, in the old days, cost us thousands of dollars. Like one episode of the Dual Comm podcast with like whatever the 5,000 or 7,000 views on YouTube, and then like the people on all the podcast platforms, that would cost us a boatload of money. We could not make this show without these tools that we have.
And I mean, we do pay for the podcast.
That is a good point. We do pay for that the storage on those.
But
so
for YouTube,
that bandwidth.
It would cost so much more.
It would cost. Yeah, I remember DJ Wheat telling a story, by the way, of the early Justin TV days or something like that. It was pre-Justin TV, maybe. He ran like an esports event. And again, I'm going to get the details wrong, but I can't remember how many people tuned in to watch that early stream online. And he ended up owing the server company for the bandwidth like $100,000 or something ludicrous. He got this bill and it was like, oh my gosh. And that's why some of these large streaming services, like, this is revolutionary. This is crazy. I get that.
Yeah.
But the more people kind of flip the bird at these corporations telling us how to think, react, what to eat, what to sleep, what to buy, and do these things, the sooner we can disrupt this stupidity. Because like you just said, voting with our wallet on the Windows 11 side doesn't like super matter to them. They're going to get the telemetry and the data they need. The voting with the wallet goes one step further of like actively not pursuing those things that they are directly telling you to do.
Yeah. And that's why we're trying to not, like, we're talking about a lot of this, but we're not doing it from a place, like you said, of anger or pitchforks necessarily. Obviously, we're mad at certain decisions, but it's not like, rah, burn the system down. Like, it is about empowering yourself. It is about just making the other choice and to feel better about your choices you make. And like I said, everyone has their own threshold of what gets them to start making change. And so all we do is try to provide context for those changes. Because for the longest time, I've been using Linux since the 90s, but like my gaming computers were pretty much always Windows because for the longest time, Linux wasn't super viable for that. And like even once it started getting there, I was just kind of like, yeah, but if I'm going to, be done with work and go sit down and game, I don't want the hassle, blah, blah, blah. But it's at the point where like between how time monopolizing live service games want to be and like all the issues that come up, going with the flow and the status quo doesn't really make that any easier than tinkering and getting switched over to Linux and stuff does anyway. And so I reached that point where it's like, this is not actually the lower friction route anymore. So it's time for a change. And so everyone's got a different point, but we are seeing shifts, and I hope we continue to see shifts because it feels so much better to be in control.
I have a weird question. Can you dual boot Linux on a system? Yep. So
you sure can.
This also gets back to me. So in preparation of the person who comments, no one's forcing you to use these things. You are totally right. I have made a choice to use Windows as a product. No one's forcing me to do that. No one.
Yeah.
So again, pitchforks are being put down. It's about personal choice and trying to take actions that are in line with our values, right?
Yeah.
There's a world where if I wanted to continue to utilize Windows, but from a principled standpoint, why not just get a separate SSD for Linux? I mean, if the majority of the work on the PC is going to be done, like it's just email and web browsing and the usual stuff, why not throw that on another SSD? And that's where I live most of the time, except for when I choose to step into the other side for gaming or whatever,
Yes. No, 100%. You can do that. That is the way that I did for a long time. And I even kept a separate boot for live service games specifically since they weren't compatible.
Yeah.
If you got super nerd skills, you can set up a virtual machine of Windows with a graphics card passed through to it, so you never even have to leave Linux and have even more control. Like it's super nerdy, but like I did that for a while. Like there are a lot of options where you can still do both. And eventually I found that I was just sticking in Linux instead of even switching to play those other games because it just felt more like home after a certain point.
Stability-wise, is it pretty nice? Like, if you've got a good distro, and is the distro the right word for like your space, basically?
So the distro is called the distribution of Linux. There's a few flavors. There's Debian, Fedora, Arch. It gets a little weird with the details, but ultimately, like, it doesn't matter. Like, ultimately, it's just Linux. You're going to have to learn a couple different steps of where something might be based on which one it is. But, like, ultimately, it's just there. You don't need to care about the little details of it. But like, other than I had, which has happened on Windows plenty of times, but like I had one catastrophic failure relatively recently that was more or less my fault, just to be clear. But other than that, like my Linux rigs have always been way more stable than my Windows ones because you don't get forced automatic updates. You don't get little changes or whatever. So the windows of opportunity for things to break are smaller / in your control rather than you just wake up one day and your computer's blue screen because it updated and something broke. Like I used to on the main channel report I remember it was like 2018 when Windows 10 was going through a ton of updates, and they were just breaking stuff every update. And there was a new article every week about like it breaking SSDs or doing this or that, and it was a bad time.
Last question. Security. Is it pretty decent? Do you have to like how does it compare from a security vulnerability standpoint?
Oh, it's way better. Like
It's way better.
obviously Windows has come a long way. Back in the XP days, you could just go to a website and then your whole browser is hijacked and you have malware and you didn't even click on anything. Obviously Windows is not that bad these days.
Yeah.
But like with Linux, like unless you're just running a bunch of random code from some stranger that you've never seen, like
unzip this file.
Yeah, like you don't have anything to worry about. Most of the software you're going to get is from the actual distributions like App Hub
Yeah.
that they have curated and kept together for you.
Yeah.
And otherwise, like nothing's running without your permission, which is part of the reason the anti-cheat for the live service is such a problem, because it wants full control over your system at the deepest level.
Yeah.
But that means that since it can't, like you're really safe on Linux.
I love hearing that. Well, you've sold me. It's the 2026 project. I know with Windows 10 being sunset, it's just like, okay, well, media server, that's what we're going to do. That's going to be, look, that $300 used gaming PC thing is getting me so much. I am like, let's close right here before the break, and then we go into the second half, which is all gaming. I promise it'll be all gaming. We are living in an incredible time where you have so much freedom and cool tech and the ability to do stuff. And one of the biggest things ever that I think is so rad is you can learn all of this so quickly. Like in the old days, I feel like read the manual was the only way. And you'd have to dig on the forums. There weren't video tutorials and stuff would break so much more. I feel like now it is so much more accessible to people like me who like I've always been tech interested. I think I'm like out of my friend and family circle, like the most tech savvy, but I am like dumb Padawan level compared to you Jedi Council member in terms of your tech knowledge. And even I have been able to do some of these things, which I think is freaking rad.
No, that's the amazing part. And speaking of your $300 used parts PC, if anyone listening is hesitant to just, uproot their whole main computer or whatever, if a family member has some old laptop or desktop that they've gotten rid of or just kept in a closet, or you can pick up some used office PC, or frankly, I've found them on the side of the road. Like, find some old scrap PC to make your experiment box and go to town. And you can learn and fail there in like the safety of that instead of uprooting your whole computer. Or on your main computer, you can download like VirtualBox and run a virtual machine and start playing around. Do the steps to play with it first in a safer way before you throw everything up in the air if you are nervous about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like we are at a time, building a new high-end gaming PC is very expensive and inaccessible at the moment. But getting access to computer hardware is as accessible as it could possibly be. Go to tech recycling centers, Goodwills,
offices.
Thrift
there
stores,
are so many offices that will are getting rid of continually old like Windows 10 machine. Right now is probably an incredible time with the Windows 10 sunset.
Yeah, high schools, universities, like they're just tossing them out. Like, go get some scrap computer to experiment on, and you are gonna find so many things that, especially when you remove that barrier of like worried about messing something of yours up, like once you feel safe to just truly experiment, you'd be really surprised what you find yourself learning to tinker with and do.
You could turn it into one of those home routers and then put the ad thingy in and have complete control over your router. You're saying this stuff. Dude, I have an old Z170 and a 6700K, an old RAM.
Oh, yeah.
I literally could go find an old freaking GPU and PSU and a case, and I could have another pretty darn decent rig that not only could fill like the jellyfin roll and all that stuff, it could go further than that. It could be that router. It could be those things.
You could put like, if you got an old case, you could put like 4 DVD drives in it and have it be the ultimate like automated media ripping machine. You could do lots of stuff.
4 at the same time, bro.
You can set it up.
Rip in the office 4 discs at a time.
Yes. Obviously, you need a lot of nerdiness to set it up, but there are scripts to set up with like Make MKV or Handbrake or whatever, where you could just every time, like it automatically detects as you swap discs and then just rips for you.
Okay. Emulation.
The possibilities are endless.
Emulation? The PCS X2 monster machine?
Yep.
Oh, this is exciting. We live in good times. Amid the bad, there is the
Yes.
good. And this is what gives me hope. As the free and open internet gets less free and open and things seem like they are getting worse, there is always this spirit with this maverick group of people, like this audience, this community. There is always a route forward that disrupts it, you know?
Yes. It just requires stepping a couple steps off the beaten path and just taking a look at what's out there. And I mean, it's the same thing like we talk about with intentionality with everything else. Like, take a look and think about it for a minute, and you will find that there's a lot to offer.
I am amped. Let's go into the break. We'll see you in the second half of the show. Welcome back to the Dual-Com podcast. Thank you for hearing our soapbox rant. Let's talk games, Epos. In fact, are there too many games?
That's a festival, a games convention in Philly.
Is it really? Oh,
Yeah.
too many games. Yeah. I've never been to a convention. I would like to at some point.
Some of them are cool. Some of them are just like, yep, that's a lot of people.
Look, I am an introvert to my core, so that's probably why I've never gone to one of these things.
So there is a post that got me thinking about this from Benji Edwards. Follow him a lot. He's done reports for Ars Technica and a bunch of other outlets. He runs his own vintage computing blog. I don't really know like what all you can credit him for other than he just writes a lot of stuff in a lot of spaces. And then someone quoted it with a graph showing the number of games released annually on Steam. And I don't think I sent this one to you, so I'm going to send it to you. Showing that from 2005 to 2025, the number of games released annually on Steam has quadrupled over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Makes
we've talked
sense.
about this before with like wading through the sea of games to find anything that's good these days. But Benji's, or I frankly don't know if you're supposed to say binge or Benji. His post specifically says, has anybody ever written about the video game oversupply apocalypse, where there are way too many high-quality video games to play, far more than any consumer audience could commercially sustain them? And that's really interesting to consider, especially in the context of our conversations about like the Game Pass price increase and how they're cramming so much value into that nobody can actually utilize.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a product of the tool set becoming easier to get access to. You can build on so many different engines. You can literally get the one on Steam that's super cheap, the one they used Undertale for. I started building a game in that, and it was super fun. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of it right now.
Game Maker, RPG Maker.
Game Maker.
There's
Game
a bunch
Maker.
of them at this point.
Oh, yeah, and you can, I mean, Undertale's one dude. Music, everything. I mean, yeah, there's testing and a few other things for a few people, but for the most part, it's Toby Fox. And I feel like a lot of people have written about this, and I feel like it's just a natural progression of how things go in any industry. Like, think about the indie music boom, right?
Yes.
Once the recording tools became accessible, everybody could create stuff, but that doesn't mean everybody is going to have financial success, nor does it mean everyone deserves the financial success.
Yes.
Yeah, it's harder in a more saturated market to stand out, so you have to make a doodad that does the doodad better than the other doodads.
And then you do to the doodad.
And even if you do the doodad that does better than the doodads, it doesn't mean it's going to sell better than the doodads.
Doesn't mean that anyone's actually going to notice.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an interesting factor to consider with, especially we talk about, you know, I had just brought up earlier in the show, you know, the investment scene moving out of the games industry and all of that. We've seen that there were tons of projections, especially during the pandemic, about this infinite growth line go up of games that was not sustainable. And I think we're seeing almost like a speed run towards that lack of sustainability because everyone got invested in games for a little bit and there was money to go around. And we're seeing a kind of shortage of demand from people. You know, we saw an artificial, unprecedented spike in demand with the pandemic, and then that got yoinked out once that was over. And now we're seeing like the fallout of supply being just flooded. And we've seen lots of people mention before, but like if we were still in a physical goods dependent economy for games, would we have seen the Atari ET crisis all over again with freaking like Concord or I'm forgetting most of the names of them now, but like the Ubisoft shooter that shut down, like those kinds of games. Would we just see
X-Defiant?
Yeah. Like,
It was fun.
would we see a similar scenario where they just printed a
Yeah.
million copies and now have to just trash them?
Yeah.
Especially because the game would literally not be playable. At least with ET, like, people literally dug them up from the gravesite and still played those copies. Whereas the online games
X-Define
you
is
can't.
truly a
Yeah.
dead relic of the past. I don't see. Look, the box copy. I know they're like it doesn't make as much money, but it was a safer bet because there was a single player SKU. There was
Yeah.
like local multiplayer. You know. Yeah.
And I'm not saying we should keep game development, obviously, and there's a lot of benefits that come from that access, and we get a lot of breakout hits from that. But it is a problem that there are too many games for anyone to play. Like what do we do about that? I don't know what the answer is. I don't think we just force people to make fewer games or whatever, but like, I think that makes it even more important to curate more niche
Bingo. You're landing
types
on it.
of games. Like we've talked before, how we want like God, my brain's breaking. A Criterion collection, like curation form of specific genres and specific types of games, and games under a like a studio kind of umbrella or whatever. I think more effort put into curation of games that aren't getting the big budget marketing is crucial now.
Yeah, especially for the people listening to this show. I think there are two tools, right? If we're thinking on Steam, which is probably the majority of the indie PC stuff that this article or this tweet is highlighting, right? That's where the releases are. Steam has lovely curation features that most people don't use. There
Yes.
are official Steam curators who you can follow for all sorts of niches and things who will tell you and promote and talk about games that are releasing because it's impossible to keep up and you're going to have to be okay with that. You have to recognize you can't play it all. And that's something I have a hard time with decision fatigue and all that stuff. But I follow a handful of curators. You're a curator on Steam, aren't you?
I don't know. I have a group. I think all groups now can act as curators, so that might
Yeah.
have converted. I haven't
I
formally
don't know
tried
the
to be
official
one, but
thingy, but
yeah.
you can follow them, and then every time you log into Steam, you can go and look and read. I looked at SkillUps. SkillUp, I don't know if he updates it frequently. I looked this summer, but I found a bunch of cool games with great articles that he had written on it or just thoughts and stuff. And
Yeah.
if you're on the console side, it's a little tougher because the console ecosystems don't necessarily on the platforms have that great of tools for it. But then there's websites like I promote backlogged.com all the time.
Yes.
This is a really cool site that operates like Letterboxd. Letterboxd is an app for movie fans who get to watch, rate, review, and log. It's really a personal journal where you can share your thoughts on a film.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to peruse and see the new stuff. And same thing, like my backlogged page, it's Lavitz GG. Lavitz from like Legend of Dragoon. And every time I beat a game, I log it and I put a paragraph or two of text about my experience. And I'm doing it for me, but then I find community members from Backlogged will like the post or will reply to the post and leave thoughts and comments and conversation pieces. And it's really nice for me because I get to look back at what I did, but then I can also look at like your profile page and see what did Epos play? What is he talking about? That kind of a thing. So maybe Backlogged isn't the solution for the front edge of the curation, but I think you're right. The responsibility then comes back onto people to look a little bit harder and find sources they like to share. Like for me, Sayonara Wild Hearts did not come out this year, but I played it this year and I had no idea this game existed. I think it's my favorite game I played this year, other than maybe Expedition 33. And it's like a 2-hour game that nobody really talks about. It's like an auto runner and a music visualizer all built into one. It's a cheap game. It's pretty much digital only everywhere. And I really encourage, like, I know there are people listening to this show that would vibe with the game super hard. And I know if somebody had recommended it to me, I would have been really grateful. And I think we get the opportunity on this show to do just the same. You, with haste, I know you've turned on so many people to that amazing game.
Yeah. I think Backlogged kind of serves we've talked a lot about it on the show, and I think a lot of people have resonated with it in the comments about building up your smaller friend groups to kind of curate games between. I think Backlog serves as a great tool to kind of reflect that to each other so you can track it without having to have direct conversations about every single game. And
Yeah.
obviously Steam, if you use Steam, has those features built into it. It has an activity feed. You can see what people are playing, what reviews they gave, whatever. But Backlogged is kind of like the dedicated hub for it if you want. I also think we want to kind of encourage more outlets to focus on that kind of thing. Like NoClip is a channel run by Danny O'Dwyer, who's done a lot of games media stuff over the years.
Yeah.
Their main channel does documentaries on behind the scenes, mostly of bigger budget games, but they started a second channel where they focus on just highlighting smaller games that people have never heard of. Like they just had one video that I watched about I'm forgetting what country she's from. It's one of those around Norway, Sweden area kind of countries that literally lives on a boat and developed a game about boats. And it's just this like weird thing where she like vlogged her whole process of developing this game by herself on this boat that she lives on. And they made a whole video about it. And it's like this game I never would have heard of. And it's a goofy little, it's not a huge game, but like a goofy, fun little game that's fun for a little bit that would have gotten no mention otherwise. And they have a lot of videos where they're really trying to promote smaller games. They had a whole little roundup of like Steam Next Fest demos you should try and stuff like that. So we need to be supporting more of that stuff because otherwise we're only ever going to hear about the big budget stuff that we would have heard about anyway. Like my least favorite thing is when I like watch a games roundup from someone or whatever, and it's the same 5 games that marketing already shoved in my face. Like that isn't super helpful to me. And so I love hearing about that stuff as a little bit of a self promo every year since I've made this channel, and we even did it on the main channel before I made this channel. My Discord community / a few of my extra YouTuber buddies that I try to loop in every year make a sort of game of the year video, but it's just our favorite game we played this year. It doesn't have to have come out this year, but our favorite games that we've played this year. And so we all feature a segment. It's usually like a 30-minute release every year around holiday time. So we're working on getting people rounded up for that this year. And so we have a little bit of our own little recommendations that way. So this year I'm probably going to talk about Haste. I know a bunch of us are going to talk about Jotun Slayer as well, because like 4 of us in my Discord group started playing it and got obsessed with it this year. And so little ways like that to just try to get people interested in the stuff you're playing. And sometimes, like, it's okay if it's bigger games. Like, sometimes that's what's required. Like, I frankly, even though everyone in the world had talked about it, I don't think I would have played, well, I haven't played it yet, but I bought it to play. I don't think I would have acquired or played Expedition 33 without some of the specific kind of curated feedback or like stories about people are like people who've played it personally and like could curate their expression of the game to my interests in a way that makes it make sense to me. And same thing, a game I talk about all the time, Marvel Midnight Suns. It is a turn-based combat game that has some of the companion stuff out of like a Mass Effect or a Persona game. I originally I was like, oh, look, a Marvel combat game. That looks exciting. And then immediately turned away from it because it has this deck building card aspect to it that is not a genre I'm interested in. But my community manager was like, no, you'll really like this game. Just pretend it doesn't have cards and just has turn-based abilities for a second and you'll get it. And like 100%, like that specific personal conversation element of it made it something that I picked up, and I freaking love this game. I have not finished it yet because it's something I just play casually, but like I've put like 40 hours into it. Like I love it. And it's one of those games that, again, the studio got shut down because it did not sell because it was just really hard to market because no one really understood what it was, where embracing more of this personal recommendations is a huge deal.
And you have to take the personal risk, which I think is so hard right now, an anti-attention economy system. There was a new episode of the show Abbott Elementary where the teachers had their phones taken away and the students had their phones taken away for a day. And one of the teachers literally was like, oh my gosh, this big decision happened on the global scale. And he doesn't have his phone. He's like, how am I supposed to react? How are other people reacting? How are people supposed to react to my reaction? Because he's like a Twitter a Blue Sky. It's Jacob. Yeah, it's an amazing. The episode's really fun. I like Abbott. It's really fun.
I'm like half a season behind, but I freaking love that.
Yeah. Well, I'll stop there so there's no spoilers, of course. But I just loved hearing that in like one sentence. That's the current issue, the paradigm. How am I supposed to react? How are other people reacting? How are people going to react to my reaction? And it's like, we have forgotten the fact that, okay, play it out here with game discovery. You're going to have to take chances. You're going to have to spend that 5, 10, 15 bucks on a game if it looks cool to you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to play it and give it the shot, and you're probably going to play some stuff you don't really enjoy. You want to reduce the risk? Start participating in the Steam Next Fests. These are where there's tons of demos. By the way, there's always Steam demos going on all the time. You can every week. Maybe there's a demo day where all you do is try out different demos. That disco beat 'em up game, is that thing out, man? I remember playing that this summer and I forgot about it.
I forgot the name of it.
I know. I'll go back and look at
Dead as another one out there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not out yet, but the download's still there. So, there's keep going.
I'll throw another one out there called Ambrosia Sky that just released. It has a demo available to play. It looks incredible. It's one of those game with worse graphics made by fewer people that everyone's asking for, although the art style is incredible. It's not like bad looking. It's just not super photorealistic. And it's this like sci-fi exploration story kind of sim thing that looks incredible that I supported day one just because I had been excited for it coming out. Where like without word of mouth, without people talking about it being like, hey, this is for these kinds of people, I wouldn't have heard about because it's not a big game with a big budget. It's a indie published game, but like these kinds of games are so cool. And for everyone who wants games to be made more sustainably and smaller and whatever, like the effort has to be put in to show them there. They're not going to be handed to you. And so I am all about the personal recommendations this year because I think using your Abbott Elementary context in mind, I am most excited for a game that I have heard zero discourse about these days because it hasn't corrupted my like take on it. And so I am most excited to experience something for the first time without other people's discourse or posts or like you don't need to learn about everything from a post. You can learn about it through experience. And that's amazing. When I think about, of all games, everyone's all hyped on this Arc Raiders game at the moment. And I am specifically, obviously, we're not doing a whole lot of multiplayer things anymore anyway, but I'm also, like, if I were going to play multiplayer, I'm not going to play that game as a decision over the AI stuff, and that doesn't need to be a conversation right now, but it is one of those things where, like, waiting to hear what everyone thinks about it or whatever to try to convince me to play it, I can stay away from the discourse, and everyone who knows me personally knows not to, like, bother because I'm not jumping on a live service game right now. And instead, we can have conversations about the single player stuff that I'm enjoying. And it's so much easier when I'm not just looking into what's popular on Twitch. Instead, I'm looking for like what people are actually having fun with on a personal level, which for a lot of people right now is maybe Silksong, but that's fine. Like there's a lot of cool stuff out there that you're only going to find by digging in or by getting real recommendations from friends.
There's nothing better than finding that hidden gem yourself, loving it, and it being good. Like you took the risk, you bought it, and it was good. I tried earlier this year to say that like Steam's review system, I think, is absolutely perfect for this because you get just enough of a temperature check without having your impressions spoiled for the most part. If you see a game is overwhelmingly negative, you have a nice little red flag to go, maybe I'm not going to take the risk to pick this up. But it's vague enough when it says positive, mostly positive, very positive. Like you don't actually have to click in to read the reviews. Everybody does so much research. I've done this before, but like so much research, even on games they've bought. Like playing through something you've bought and you're enjoying. Oh, I got to go look up reviews. What is everybody else thinking about this? Isn't that just a weird? I know it's a craving and it powers, like you said, Twitch gaming. Twitch gaming is so much less like for the big esport, the big live service people. Is this game, like, does it have what it takes to give me viewers? Which is a very separate basket of, is this a good game for the player?
Yeah,
and so what may be good for the streamer's viewership could be trash. Like how many people are watching pack openings on, well, not anymore because I heard the market tanked, but like how many people are just watching that because it's fun to see somebody else gamble, you know?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I have found by backing away from what's popular on Twitch and the live service model and whatever, like I have so much less FOMO because there isn't really FOMO for single player stuff in the first place. And like you said, with the with the Steam review system, one of the things I like is that it has both the overall like very positive, mostly positive, whatever rating, but also the recent one, so you can find out like if there was an update that like broke something or whatever.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
more recent reviews will change it. And it kind of cues me in. Like there are a lot of games that look like they'd be great single player games and are actually this like online experience that gets kind of jank. And
Yeah.
I can almost always tell when I've confused those games because they'll have a slightly positive, somewhat positive overall rating, but the recent one is negative because of some change or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't a single player game. There's some online factor here because that's almost always the case. And so there are a lot of powerful tools, like you said, in Steam. I have a video I scripted. I still need to finish of like all the Steam features you don't know about because the Steam like recommendations and curation and social media features, and obviously you don't got to use all of them, but like the forums and all that, all the features on Steam go really, really deep. You could curate your experience so intensely if you really want to spend time on it. Like in high school, if all these things were still available, I would have absolutely been obsessed with it and like really curated it. And so if you're looking for recommendations and you are on the PC side, it's there. A lot of recommendations in general can still apply to console because of how many games are cross-released. You just gotta
Yes.
be better about filtering and stuff because
And
obviously
like
a lot
all
of
the
the little
indies,
games. Yeah.
almost all the indies are multi-plat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I think that's a good transition point for the LinkedIn post from the former VP of
Oh,
Prime
boy.
Gaming at Amazon.
Yeah, this is such a fun clash of there are too many games, but there are still clearly plenty of gamers out there. And yet one of the biggest companies in the entire world could not get the attention of the world of gamers. So
Before we dive into it real quick, is it not weird? I find LinkedIn so cringe. I find it so
dude.
weird that you have people like writing posts and like a social media network for career-based stuff. I hate LinkedIn.
No, I finally deactivated my account because somehow, and talk about like privacy concerns we were talking about earlier, I started getting texts from people through LinkedIn.
Oh, the recruiters.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
just like, all of my privacy settings say that my phone number is not visible to anyone. How did you find my number? And like for random recruiter spam, it was like whatever. But then I got someone specifically emailing me for like consultation about a video I made. And I'm like, how the heck did you get my number?
Yeah.
And so I just deactivated my whole account. Like I want nothing to do with it. But the former Amazon VP of Prime Gaming, who had been working on it for apparently 15 plus years, which
What?
does not make sense in my brain.
Pre-Justin TV, right?
Yeah, I don't exactly know what they were doing for that whole time, but that's what he says his career of working on it has been.
But it was before him. Like he did say that 15 plus years, it was
That's true.
before his leadership.
That's true. But like
Yeah.
no one had heard of Amazon trying to tackle gaming before then anyway.
Yeah.
But he points out that Amazon is at least 250 times bigger than Steam, but they still could not disrupt Steam. And really, like there's a whole post that goes into how they tried to enter the online game store market. First, they acquired a small PC game store called Reflexive Entertainment, which I don't remember at all, but that's basically how they use to base their like Prime Gaming store on. And then after they acquired Twitch, which they thought, okay, everyone's streaming games over here. Surely by using Twitch and using Amazon, they'll just buy games through us. Nope, they still didn't. And then they implemented Amazon Luna, which was game streaming, and still could not get people to buy games through them. And what they have found was that Steam was just a better platform. The quote is, the mistake was that we underestimated what made consumers use Steam. It was a store, a social network, a library, and a trophy case all in one. And it worked well. At Amazon, we assumed that size and visibility would be enough to attract customers, but we underestimated the power of existing user habits. We never validated our core assumptions before investing heavily in solutions. Blah, 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 blah. We needed to build something dramatically better, but we didn't do so. We just had lots of assumptions. Which it's so fascinating how people can end up in these massive positions of power and money spending and just run on their assumptions that are seemingly so out of touch. Like these aren't people that are like, clearly this post is very self-aware now, but it's one of those things like we talked about with the Amazon and Xbox executives that are now talking like they know how the system should have been ran the whole time and just weren't doing it after they leave their positions.
Yeah.
Clearly there's self-awareness now, but like it feels like so many people get put in charge of spending billions of dollars to disrupt markets when they were never a part of the market or had insight into it in the first place. And that just seems so weird. Like, it really feels like in another world, so many of us could just have huge success because we actually know what's going on in the space and just aren't in a position to be handed that kind of job.
Yeah.
But it's just, it is fascinating to consider that a company the size of Amazon that destroyed the book industry, that disrupts the grocery industry and even the pharmaceutical industry now, could not get people to look away from Steam.
Yeah.
Like the most that Prime Gaming seems to have been used for was for redeeming keys on Steam, which does not help them.
Before we go further, I just looked. Everybody who has a Prime account, you have 7 days to get Fallout New Vegas, the Ultimate Edition on GOG. So if you have Prime Gaming, that's free for 7 more days. We're recording this November 12th. I'm going to try and get it out November 12th, maybe November 13th. And then Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition is also available for 2 more weeks. Amazon Prime free GOG copy. And I think that's because Fallout Season 2 is like early December. So, everything else looks kind of like whatever to me for the library. But those are 2 gems. Those are 2 gems worth having in your GOG library.
And that might be it. Like, they're probably closing that stuff down soon. And it makes me kind of worried because I would imagine a lot of their investment in these video game shows also came through expectations of kind of rising the tides of their cross promotions for Prime Gaming. So I wonder how far we'll get, say, a Fallout series, or like they're working on a Mass Effect one right now. Like, I wonder if that will start tanking their investments in those shows as well. Because frankly, they seem to have been good. So like, I don't want that to stop, but obviously it's part of this cross, model for it. But
yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. You need to build something dramatically better. The way I see Amazon, it's internet Walmart. Okay, it is. And stay in your lane. Why does every brand want to do what it isn't doing? They want audiences that they don't need.
I've said this a million times, but I truly think like the worsening of the internet on the whole and everything starting to fall apart came from platforms. And it was probably Facebook first, or if not Amazon first, I guess. They both kind of came up at the same time in that regard, trying to do everything. Instead of being specific tools that we used for specific jobs, they tried to be your entire online existence, and that just doesn't work.
I'm making myself crack up because what if they entered the console market? They made the Amazon Basics console.
Oh my God. I mean, in a way, that was the Luna thing. Like,
it was, sorry.
Like, they had game streaming in that regard, which even Google failed at. Like, we don't
want to stream. We don't. The basis of the freaking medium is you don't want input latency. And that is the core characteristic of streaming.
Yeah. Like, I understand that they're trying, like, I understand game streaming as an appealing way to target people who don't have hardware, but like, especially when you're trying to tackle Steam users who are the more hardcore gamers, it's not going to work. Now, I did not have this on the show doc, and so I will give you some links afterwards for us to include in the description. But I thought it was really interesting. After all of this, over the past week or two, there have been a kind of deluge of articles talking about these supposed surveys and stuff where gamers are okay with Steam having a monopoly and how scary that is. And I really think that it's this kind of like information campaign thing now that Amazon's coming out of the game, where like someone's trying to put out enough messaging that Steam as a monopoly is bad because everyone's losing to Steam. And I do like, we expressed earlier in the show, like there are concerns about that, because if Steam goes down, or goes the wrong way rather, like the simplified way is to say if Steam goes down. It's pretty obvious that Steam is not just going to disappear one day out of nowhere. But we've seen every other service on the planet get worse and worse and then crumble. That is a concern. But you don't... I think what we've seen with Amazon and with Epic, the Epic Game Store, and that one's been a little bit more sustainable, but they've done it by basically blitzkrieging free games, which has screwed over a lot of developers. What we don't want in our competition is just kind of like you said with Amazon, like Walmart Steam. We don't want just crappy Steam as an alternative to Steam just for the sake of having an alternative. You want, which the Amazon guy said, like you want something that does a part of it better. I think especially this has come up a lot with like YouTube competitor talk whenever people say we want a YouTube competitor. I don't think it's realistic to just make Steam but better, because also it's hard to get people out of their habits and their old ways. Like if you told me this new platform and store is like Steam, but it's a lot better in every way, I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. It needs to do something specific that's better and compelling to provide it as a alternative that I use alongside Steam, not just expecting me to magically ditch Steam. And so I think that's where something like, say, GOG is a good runner, in that it's not realistic to expect people to just switch over to Steam entirely. But GOG provides DRM-free games that you can own, and they put a lot of work and effort into updating and patching really old games to still be playable on modern hardware. And that is a service that they hire developers for and provide, and they work with the developers of the original games to provide modern patches and keep it going. That is something that Steam is not doing and can't probably do. And so it is a service that then makes it compelling to go get some games over on GOG enough to keep it going. Not to replace Steam, but to be the Steam for old games or for, ownership of games. And that's why, for example, every YouTube competitor that showed up that was just trying to be YouTube but better for 5 days failed. But then something like TikTok survived because it was doing something different better.
I wish Vine survived.
Yeah,
we didn't have TikTok. Yeah, I just love the string of "see, I told you so" from people who have been, their previous high level executive position. And look, the findings are there. It's hard to be a market disruptor, but Steam came in and did something radically different at the time, and they were ahead of the curve, and they built their audience. And it's the same thing. If my library is in one spot, it takes a lot to get me to move. Like, I'm invested in this hobby, and even still, I'm like, I have to make an active choice. If I'm going to buy a PC game, I really want to buy it on GOG moving forward for the most part. And that's going to take some discipline and approach. And most people are not going to do that.
Yeah.
Most people aren't. But
I also think context is important to consider. Steam was hated when it came out. When you had to download Steam for Half-Life 2, or like
I was one of those
Counter-Strike
users. I couldn't play Half-Life 2 because so much of the game wasn't on the disc.
Yeah,
and
like everyone
I had to
hated
do these
that.
updates, and
It was
we were
ugly.
on trash internet.
Yeah,
it was green.
It was ugly green. It was this massive inconvenience. No one understood the value offering yet, and especially when we had other services for a lot of the features like Xfire and like games for Windows Live and stuff like that. Like, people didn't want it. They had to earn that. They had to take that feedback, build something that people wanted from that feedback. And I use this example on the show a bunch, but like Fortnite launched as a completely different game in every way except for how it looked. And it was not successful. It was a failure. And they had to turn it into something that became what it is. But then you think about all the people that show up and want to make the Fortnite replacement or competitor, and you don't just do that overnight. You don't just make it and show up with it. Fortnite didn't just show up and take over the world. It was a failed game that they turned into something else that had that magic lightning, and then they went with it. And as much as I don't like Fortnite and can't stand Tim Sweeney or what Epic is doing, I think that context is still crucial to understand how they got there. And the same thing with Steam. Like, Steam was not this popular platform that everyone loved. It was this weird, inconvenient, why would I use this thing? And then they found a way to make it compelling and build that up over time. And as a major corporation coming in to disrupt something, you don't do that by just showing up and telling people to switch.
Dude, I got distracted. I looked up Gabe Newell's yacht. He's got a couple of super yachts. His newest one, called the Leviathan, it's 111 meters. That's a 365-foot boat. That's beautiful. And that's like his second super yacht, man. Like, they're doing stuff right. I like the platform in so many ways, but I do obviously get concerned. So, one more gaming story that you had thrown in here, and it's the marketing tale, basically, of how for the game War Robots Frontier, it's a mech and shooter fan game. Yeah, I hadn't either. And I like mecha stuff. I'm going to look it up here in a second. They describe posting over 40 times across major gaming subreddits like PC Master Race, PlayStation 5, Mecha Gaming. These are subreddits, right?
Yeah.
Each post matched the tone and culture of the community. Short clips, I just found this game. Discovery posts, screenshots, and discussions about mech tactics and movement systems. Excuse me. He goes on to say, no ads, no hashtags, no wish list now, just a native conversation. Players talked about the game naturally, compared it to Titanfall and Mech Warrior, and shared real opinions about mechanics. To keep it real, our team played the game in parallel, captured fresh footage, and wrote from firsthand experience. It gave us credibility and that organic Reddit tone that actually works. The results: 750,000 impressions, 2,400 upvotes, 1,500 new players joined the game. Not a massive hit, but it showed once again that Reddit can convert curiosity into real sales. Look, I'm very aware of the marketing world, dude, and this stuff just irks me. It
Yeah.
bothers me. It's so disingenuous, and another reason to exit these stupid websites. Because
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, look, I am all down for a developer to authentically share an experience with the game, but not under the covert ops of pretending to be a real player. If you're from the brand, talk authentically from the brand. And there are so many sites that you can now buy users in communities who are just basically, I'm not going to use the phrase on this show, but they'll do anything for money, okay? Who will go into Reddit communities and Facebook groups and spread whatever message you've paid them to spread. And they have massive networks of these people. Massive. It's just like inauthentic noise. So I don't know. Maybe I'm taking this the wrong direction. I love when a developer authentically talks and shares and does things with their community. But this whole like, hey guys, it's the skateboard meme where he's like, hey fellow kids, I'm doing what you're. It's just, I hate this, dude.
Yeah. There's so many interesting like things to take away from this. First of all, someone in the replies, because someone had shared this on Blue Sky, linked to an Internet Archive page. The publisher or the promotion marketing company or whatever had a page up that showed the games that they had done this with, basically for like bragging about their astroturfing skills with Reddit and how common this is, including that War Robots game, War Thunder, Split Fiction, a few others, which is just scary to think about. But also, like, someone also pointed out that getting 1,500 new players is not a whole lot, and you can get more than 2,400 upvotes by just posting a video of you farting, except they paid people to do this. So in a way, it's kind of embarrassing numbers to have paid for. But
well,
also,
and the game, by the way, has only 2,000 reviews. It's mixed. So not great sales.
Yeah. So not that much of a success story. But that's like, I don't know what the solution is online, but that's the whole problem. Like, everything is advertising. I complained about this in a video, or I guess in a lot of videos, but like where it feels like nothing is genuine anymore. Everyone has a thing. I'm in the digital minimalism subreddit, and it's kind of a dumpster fire right now because it's full of people who don't understand what minimalism is at all and are just seemingly there to troll people, or people trying to sell you stuff. Like, there's this one guy who made a post, and I'm not going to like quote it directly, but who was just like, I tried taking a break from my iPhone, but then I couldn't find inspirational posts anymore. How am I supposed to be inspired? And most of the comments were like, you don't need posts, magazines, museums, real life, anything. And he's like, no, man, you need a dedicated, curated app for this. Join my Discord so that you can keep up to date with my updates on my app. And we're like, how are you trying to sell us an extra app in the digital minimalism subreddit? But it's like, it's everywhere, and you can never trust. I at least appreciate there is a welcoming community in the Linux gaming and the Steam Deck subreddits. I think it's like limited to a certain day of the week, but where indie devs can post about the games they're working on. And it's obviously promotion, but a lot of it is to get feedback, and they can ask for wish lists with it, but like real conversations happen. And so like I wish listed this game someone was making that's like the old Marble games, like on the Sega and stuff.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty cool. And I was just like, and that guy didn't even link to it directly. I was just like, hey, do you have a Steam page for this? Can I wish list it? But like, they're welcoming to it because it is smaller indie devs that just want to talk about the games they're making. And a lot of them will get tips about like how they want to do their movement mechanics or whatever, or even how they market their game. Cause they're like, I made this cozy boomer shooter and it's like super gory. And they're like, please don't call it cozy. Nothing about this is a cozy experience. And when it's transparent, especially with smaller devs, not a big AAA publisher or something, it's more, it feels less invasive. It's when it's this fake, I just found this game kind of thing that you can never trust anymore.
It's the
And
game reveals where they're like on the mic being like, "Hey, I'm gonna go storm the door."
yeah,
That's right, bro. Bravo team in.
yeah.
Those
Or
remember
freaking
the fake comms?
I will never get over the Game Awards thing where they brought in Vin Diesel and Rodriguez to talk about the Fast and the Furious game. And he's like, "Yeah, man, these are our people, man. What do you mean? Gamers, fellow gamers, man. Don't you remember when we were filming the first Fast and the Furious movie and we were playing Tekken fighters?" And she's like, "Yeah. Anyway, these are our people, man. Here's our video game." And it's like, "No. Just tell us you made the game. You don't need to pretend to be one of us." Like,
Oh man.
ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to get back to our earlier, everything is bad mindset, but like, this is why personal, individual, or like smaller scale community curation is so important.
This is
And
the theme. You have to be more discerning as a consumer. You cannot rely on these corporate platforms to
yeah,
tell you what is good. Because, like, the point of this Blue Sky post is to say that Reddit is compromised in terms
mhm.
of game recommendations when you have this stuff going on. And I didn't mean to cut you off. You finish your thought, then I have a follow up.
Oh no, I mean I was basically done. It's just that like everything big and public is not trustable anymore. And it's not even like you had said something before about how advertising doesn't even work on you. Like in a lot of ways, direct ads don't, but in a lot of ways, you can't avoid it. Like a post like that in a subreddit you're active in, where it's like, "Hey, I just found this game." You are now influenced to have heard of the game. You had mentioned like, "I'm a fan of mech games and I hadn't heard of this. I need to look into it." Like you
Yep.
are still influenced to think about it in a way that is outside of your control.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I personally came to you and are like, "Hey man, look at this new mech game. It's a lot of fun." You know that I'm not being paid to tell you that because
Oh, yeah.
that's not how
Yeah.
personal relationships work.
Yes.
That is the value. And a lot of people really sounded
Oh.
off on this in the comments of our last episode. But that is the value of talking about games with friends before any outside discourse.
And I would say like that's the end game, right? Is the paying people for personal recommendations, right? Like man
Yeah.
on the street stuff. But that's been the Instagram culture for forever. If you're an influencer, here's this beauty product, put it on your face, do what I
Yeah.
tell you. I have influence. That's gonna collapse at some point. And the thing I wanted to add is I've got a decent insight on the marketing side of stuff. Most of these small developers do not have the budget to hire marketing staff. They don't. And so they utilize the agency model. And agencies suck. They do. They are massive. And they're like, look, we've got 50 people working for us. You've got a project manager, a social media person. You've got somebody who's going to control the ad buying. You've got they'll sell you the all in one package. And then they approach it from a very disingenuous place. There are some good agencies, but like the reason, like probably this might have been a sick game, but most of
Yeah.
these studios can't afford what it costs to hire a marketing person and they don't know how it works. And they're like, well, we have a lot of money. We're worried about spending $100,000 or $1,000,000 or $10 million. Okay. So we're going to go to the agency and they're going to promise these results. And agencies are always up the butt about stupid stuff like this, where, look, we've got this new system. We go into Reddit communities. We spread your message for you. And I'm sorry, smart consumers, stupid. It doesn't work. It's a waste of money. And I feel like more and more, the smaller developers, you can handle the marketing yourself. I promise you, we're living in an era now where all of the earned media, you can go out and access these sites for free. I'm not saying it's going to be a guaranteed success, but the era of needing $10 million, it doesn't get you what a smart, creative, innovative, authentic person will get you. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have much to add. I'm just, I guess, disappointed that this is still such a thing and that, I don't know. There,
It's going to
there,
get worse.
there can be no protected space in public spaces. And we knew that before. Like in the old internet, not to harp on this too much, I will only speak for a moment, but like you knew when you were in your specific forums or like IM chats or whatever that it wasn't being infiltrated by advertisers. But on big public platforms that are all about like retention, you never know. And there are so many games. Like I am this weird guy, and I know you say you have basically never played a single one of them. I am always evaluating whether there's like a mobile game worth my time, especially as I have removed all social media, YouTube. I'm starting to remove Reddit now because all of my subreddits are just a nightmare anymore. Like, I'm removing everything from my phone. I still want something when I really want to fill a couple minutes and my phone is all I have. And so I'm constantly trying to evaluate if there's any games like what I play on my Steam Deck or whatever that I could fit on my phone. And I will find posts on Reddit or advertisements for them or whatever. And anytime I try to ask about them, it's like, yeah, that game is nothing like that. It doesn't look anything like that. It doesn't play anything like that. And there will be some where it's like, hey, this game was made specifically for me. It's like a roguelike, but it's Diablo. And it's like, hey, I play a game like that on PC. And then you get in the game and it's just like fully automated. It's just like you don't play it at all. It's just an idle game. And I'm like, what's the point? I want to play something. It's such a messy thing. And magazines, friends, smaller channel videos, go for it.
I think it's funny, the worm eating its own tail. You've got what are essentially bots writing positive reviews on Reddit about it, and then plenty of bots consuming that information and that data. So you're literally just paying to have robots just eat its own tail. It's
and that's why ad revenues have gone down so much, which affects us, real humans making stuff, because our videos are being scraped by AI, so ads count for less now and whatever. Real quick, I wanted to throw in not paid recommendations. A community has gone through and been restoring TimeSplitters. The project is called TimeSplitters Rewind. Looks like we're, at the time of recording, about 11 days out till it's playable. It is a completely free online multiplayer experience of restoring the games. So far, they have 28 maps, 50 arcade leagues, 91 characters, 20 different game modes. Currently, because it's not out yet, 10 players online. But they have offline and online modes that you can play, a lot of weapons and stuff. They have gone through and basically just made a greatest hits collection of the first 3 TimeSplitters game playable that are all in one little project. So it's not like a fan like port or remake, because it's not 3 separate games. They've kind of put it together in one like compilation game. And it's just what happens when you have fans dedicated to just restoring and making a game playable again. And this has been in the works for like 10 plus years, which is really crazy. So I am super excited. I love when fandoms come together. And it seems like there's at least some degree of like official blessing for this to happen, because it's got like some of the original builds from like Crytek and stuff, so I don't entirely know.
I don't know who owns the IP. Is it still EA or did Eidos buy it? No, THQ Nordic. Embracer owns it. So
I don't know
please
exactly.
Please don't get shut down.
Yeah. There's always the risk of getting takedowns, but I love that even with that risk in mind, like fans, when they're so committed to a game or a franchise and stuff and come together to just make it something that everyone can love and enjoy. I just love sharing those stories, because that is game fandom purity at its best.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's literally like, I remember TimeSplitters at a slumber party where we were all like gathered around the TV, and it was TimeSplitters 2, like single player, and it was fun. Those are good days. Let's jump into PS5 stuff, because there was a new state of play. It had its birthday, right?
Today is its
year
5th
of the
birthday.
PS5. All right,
that's
November 12th.
Crazy.
Woo! And the CFO lady said that they're at the midpoint of PS5. I'll pull the article up here in a second, but that sounds they might support it a little longer than people expect.
So it's so weird, because it's hard to really think about how long console dev cycles are. Like, I having watched the news, having seen the conversations from Mark Cerny, I would feel confident in saying PS6 hardware is already like finalized. Like, I think they have
for sure. Yeah.
But yet we're potentially not getting it for 5 more years. I find that hard to believe, given that it's already ready. And then also I start thinking about, okay, how far behind is it going to end up being if it's already done? And like, that's not unusual. Like, consoles are always done way earlier than you think. But it always makes me wonder how much better the system could be if it was not developed so early. But yeah, it's its 5th birthday. Supposedly, we're midway through its life cycle, which makes sense when you... well, I don't know, because PS4 was only 7 years. So,
Yeah. I think people always take the calls from these investor updates and dig pretty deep into them, and
Yeah.
they're not that deep. It's a promo event for investors, publicly
It could
traded
be
stuff.
like 10 years for EOLing the PS5. Who knows?
I'm sure
but
there'll be software for it for forever. We're
Oh,
not
yeah.
getting the leaps anymore that super duper matter. And like you
Yeah.
said, PS4 is still getting releases. So
yeah, I had a couple people comment on my video being like, there's no reason to buy it. It will not get a single new game. And I'm like, games are literally coming out every day for it. And I've looked up release schedules. There are PS4 games coming out through the end of next year. It'll probably keep going. I'm sure at some point Sony will do the thing where they like restrict licenses to keep printing games for it. But at the moment, it's not stopping. Obviously, you're not getting Wolverine on PS4, but like, that's fine. We got some interesting news. They did announce yesterday, at the time of recording, a official PlayStation gaming monitor.
yeah, I
Which
wanted
has
to talk
been
to you
interesting
about that.
because you've been talking to me about wanting a new monitor. I don't know
not
that
getting
this is
this.
what I would
No.
recommend to go with. It's a fascinating it's a fascinating thing. So PlayStation already has a brand of displays called Endzone. It's Sony's gaming line, but it's like always been marketed as like you pair it with your PlayStation. Like it's got similar graphic style, similar branding. They have some more black rather than just the white, but it's been their like gaming brand that you pair it with PC and PlayStation and go with. Whereas this is a dedicated, it is a PlayStation monitor with the PlayStation logo on the front. It has a dedicated hook that you can attach your controller to, either the DualSense or the Edge, to charge it.
Yeah.
And is designed both for PC and PS5 and PS5 Pro Play. But then you look at the specs and it's kind of confusing.
It's QHD. It's not even OLED.
It is 1440p, IPS, not OLED. And then, so it will support VRR and 120 hertz for PS5, but then it will also support 240 hertz for Mac and PC.
Yeah.
So it is clearly, like, to the most cynical interpretation, they partnered with any number of the obvious display manufacturers and got a really good deal on some panels and are just charging it for PS5.
They have
But
the
yes,
Bravia panels.
They do make their own. It seems weird to not just further push the existing Sony stack, especially for something that is not specifically catered to the PlayStation in any way. Like they are marketing this as a PlayStation monitor. And I think it would be a good experience on the PlayStation 5. Like I'm not saying it won't be, but it is not catered to the PlayStation in any way, because it is 1440p.
But it's got a charging hook, bro.
Yeah, it's got the hook to charge your controller. Apparently, the USB port on the monitor is compatible with their PlayStation Link adapter, so you can actually hook up your wireless PlayStation audio to the monitor and it'll still work, which is actually kind of cool.
That's nifty.
Actually, no, it's not. I take that back. That shows how much it's still not catered towards the PlayStation, because it should have the PlayStation Link built in.
Yes.
You shouldn't need to buy the adapter for it if it's going to be catered for. Like, yeah, you shouldn't need the dongle
inside.
Yes. It should have it built in if it's going to be catered to it. So I take that back. It's not cool in that regard. But it's 1440p. The PlayStation has never been super friendly with 1440p. That was a big issue for the longest time with the PS4 Pro. And frankly, I'm spacing on whether they added it. For the longest time when the PS4 Pro came out, it did not support 1440p output. It only supported 1080p or 4K. And this created a huge problem for people who played on PC and had 1440p monitors, because either you couldn't use the native res of your monitor. Best case scenario, you couldn't use the native res of your monitor. You had to use 1080p, and then you got some input lag and other scaling issues because monitors suck at scaling. Worst case scenario, a lot of 1440p monitors have a 4K 30 mode as a compatibility option that was forced by the PS4 Pro. And so you had a super laggy, super blurry 30 hertz mode enforced for this 4K signal. I think they may have eventually added it in a firmware update. I don't remember at this point. PS5 does support 1440p, but none of the games scaling are built with that in mind. It's made for HD or 4K still. It will still output 1440p. It'll be fine, but there's no... It's not really built for that. And
I've got stats. Only 15% of the PS5 library has 1440p native support. The rest are just super sampled.
Yeah.
So it's like, why?
It's a very weird choice. I get the feeling that overall it would be a pretty solid experience. Like, it looks super premium,
Yeah.
it looks sleek. They also announced some Pulse wireless speakers that could go with it. Like, you could build a pretty dope, you know,
Aesthetic. Yeah,
yeah,
it'd be
you know, the
rad.
channels that'll have the thumbnails with all of this setup. Like, you'll have the dopest PlayStation setup if you go
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
But there's so many questions. Like, Sony makes 4K 120 and 240 panels. They
Nice
make
ones.
displays for that. Like, nice OLED ones, nice not OLED ones. Like, they make good screens. And it's like, the reason you would go with a small display like this is if you're in a PC and console like cross input scenario, like a streamer or something, and you want both inputs, really handy there. Or you're an esports gamer where you need the smaller screen and up close on it to see all the details. For most otherwise experiences, you want your PlayStation on a big TV that you're sitting back from. We've
Yeah.
talked about this a lot on this show. And in my PS4 exploration video, I actually encountered a lot more of this because a lot of all of the fancy AI upscaling, blah, 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 that they've been doing on the consoles and the fancy upscaling before AI was involved, you don't notice the artifacts when you're sitting back on a TV. When you're sitting up close to it, a lot of it looks really bad. And so, like, this is not in any way the ideal experience overall,
Yeah, I'm
for
trying to
what the console offers.
maybe like a Fortnite kind of player, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
you
what I
got
was
the
thinking,
high
like
refresh
esports.
VRR mode, you
Yeah.
got the HDMI. I mean, if this comes in at a price point of 250, 300, maybe, if it's anything above
Yeah,
300, what are you doing? What are you
right.
doing?
No, that's what confuses me. Is for the right price, this would just be a better alternative to whatever normal PC monitor you'd get. Like, it'd be fine. But is it going to be $300? It's probably going to be 500 or 600, and then you're like
Yeah.
looking at OLED instead.
Yeah, there's so many better 1440p monitors
And you
could
can just
get.
buy a $20, like, I have a little dual controller charge dock thing. Like, you don't like
Yeah. But
I
I think you're right. It's that aesthetic, that's Apple
yeah.
ecosystem kind of vibes, and there is, I guess, a good feeling of that. You and I both have their wireless headset. It's pretty
Yeah.
rad.
It's
It's
pretty
pretty
nice. I don't
rad.
use it enough just because I do a lot of captures, and if you turn on the wireless headset,
Yeah,
you lose your
it
audio.
kills the
But
audio. Yeah.
I like sitting back with speakers, but like times where I've wanted to just be immersed, like the headset, I'm not gonna pretend it's better than any of my like audiophile headphones or anything by a long shot, but like it's a
No.
good experience. It's pretty nice. I
The
got no
3D audio
complaints.
is cool, but I can't
Yeah.
pinpoint anything. I can't be like, that waterfall's
Yeah.
behind me.
No.
It's cool, but I'm telling you, a good pair of stereo is going to get you
Yeah.
pretty
So
close.
just a weird release there. And then we also saw some interesting things. So first and foremost, I guess we'll talk
Cross-Buy,
Cross-Buy. That
the little logo.
is a new logo that seemingly leaked in the store, and people did some testing where they like simulated having it on, and it's not just a logo that they made. Like, there is a mechanism in the store for it to show up next to your games. And there was some discussion of I don't remember where the quote came from right off the top of my head, but some discussion when they alluded to it in like real conversations that it might retroactively apply to some games. Obviously, if you buy physical, that kind of eliminates that possibility unless they're going to do a thing where you can pop your Blu-ray in, which is going to be a handful of people that have Blu-ray drives. But the ability to cross-buy just like Xbox's Play Anywhere is a great value proposition for gamers, especially since PlayStation is releasing more and more day one on PC almost. They're not as caught up as Xbox, obviously, but clearly they are embracing it. Like, at first it was just this experiment where they were like, maybe we'll try it, but they're clearly embracing it like for real now. So that is exciting in terms of just, I guess, pro consumerism.
What if I could get the PC copy of Horizon, right?
Yeah.
For an extra $5 or $10 off of the copy I already own for the PS5. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool.
It would be
try
cool.
that,
I struggle to be super excited, and I'm not trying to look for every negative thing. I'm just trying to, like, I am sitting here at my computer with my PS5 right next to me. I'm trying to evaluate what this offers my life. Cross save still has to be implemented on a per game basis. Like, when I switched from playing Helldivers on PS5 to PC, I had to grind all of my levels back up, and they originally planned on cross progression and decided that their engine just can't support it, and so they decided to nix that option as something they would implement. And that, honestly, that grind to get caught back up in levels, I haven't played since, so that sucks. But like, they can't guarantee that you're going to be able to continue your game where you left off. And so then I start to wonder, like,
I get it though, but no, it's the gateway into the subscription service because right now the cloud saves you got to have PS Plus, and
Yeah.
if you don't got PS Plus, you can't migrate them through the cloud. You can do, I think, a USB save transfer if you wanted to do it, but yeah, I play
It's-
on both the PS4 Pro and the PS5, and I'm like, why is it not
yeah.
working? And I'm like, oh, I don't
It's
have subscriptions anymore.
it's a little finicky. So it's a net positive. It is a pro consumer move. It will add value, but I don't know. Like a lot of people are really hyped for this, and I don't know how much value it will add overall if you don't have cross save really locked in. And maybe they'll have their own dedicated PlayStation app that juggles your cloud save for you. I don't know how that would interact with your Steam game copy versions, or maybe the cross buy is only for a special PlayStation store. I don't know yet. This
It
is
might be
also
a
really
few
interesting
games,
considering the PlayStation handheld rumor mill going on, because that would be a good, interesting scenario. I just
Yeah.
I don't know what will come from this yet.
Who knows? Who
Um,
knows? But you know what I'm thinking before we get to the rest of that Sony news? It's time for another Astrobot playthrough.
Yes,
That's all I
Yes.
wanted to say. They've got targeted dynamic pricing for digital sales where some users are seeing sale prices that are just specialized to them. And so multiple people have checked this out before and seen that they get a special price that's not normally visible on like a fresh internet browser session, right?
Yeah, and even accounts on the PlayStation console. Like there were rumors about them implementing this. They had like talked about it behind the scenes or something at the end of last year. And people were like, "Whoa, that's crazy. Hopefully not." And then we didn't hear a whole lot. And then there's been a bunch of Reddit posts and stuff of people who were like, I checked the store while accidentally logged into my wife's account, and like someone looked up Red Dead Redemption 2, and it was like $5 cheaper than when they switched over to their account." And it's like, what? It's like a sale. It's like save 85%, and then they switch to their account, save 80%. And the whole surge pricing, dynamic pricing thing just creeps me out. It's one
Dude,
of those-
grocery stores are doing it.
yeah. Like that's another thing that we just need regulation against. I don't see how that benefits anyone. It can only abuse people. I think it's a big problem. Obviously $5 on a $20 game, whatever. I'm not super worried about it, but just the whole trend of it seems to really,
Buy physical.
yeah.
Buy
It is-
physical.
It is already illegal in the EU, so this is primarily a North American targeted thing. And so, once again, we need regulations. We're not going to get
Amazon
them, but we
does
should
it.
keep asking for them.
I thought I've heard Amazon does this. Like if it's got the data that you're a more apt user for a certain like vertical, you might get a higher price than somebody who they're just trying to get into the loop. But I
That
don't
would
know.
not surprise me. I do know, like, even freaking AliExpress will advertise you deals of like something is like 50 cents. But once you've logged in, if you're not a new account downloading the app for the first time, then it's like $20.
Yeah. Wah, wah. And then the big state of play that they had, it's a lot of like DLC and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into all that new stuff. If you're interested, cool. I think Japan's getting a super cheaper version of the PS5 that is not international. It's $350 over the like $470 version that was in Japan. So they're trying to move some units, I guess.
Oh, I see that. That's it's the digital
Oh, do you want me to link
edition.
that? Sorry, I didn't put that on the
No,
thing.
it's good. The digital edition is going to be like $357. That's
What are PS5s right now here in the US?
and
with the
it's
disc
literally going to be region locked. They have not region locked since the PS2.
tray.
And now they're region locking this specific version of the system. That sucks.
Dude, when the jailbreak era comes for PS5, I'm sure they're probably have already found stuff, and I don't need to talk about it, but like a PS5 Pro is going to be a freaking machine. That's a beast, and like pretty small and aesthetically pleasing. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm betting, and I not to get like super politically relevant here, but I'm betting this is like they're
Oh, it's a
region locking
tariff
it.
thing,
Yeah, it's a
probably.
tariffs. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm betting it's so people don't import them individually and bypass the tariffs and they get in trouble and whatever. It really sucks though, because like one of the big things I've always bragged about PlayStation 4 is they have not region locked for a very long time. It is a lot of fun importing games for the PS3 and PS4 that you could either not get physical in the States or have. Like I have the fancy PS1 style slipcase for Wipeout Omega collection, like that I imported from the EU. Like you can just
That's
import
cool.
games, or like there are a lot of games that are just too expensive in the US. Like someone was talking about getting Gravity Rush remastered in 2 it's like impossible to get physical in the US, but you can import it and get another copy, and it's the same game. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So that stinks. Obviously, it doesn't really affect us. Like, we still have the console. We're not missing anything, just the lower price, which we're clearly not getting because of tariffs and price hikes anyway. But like, it's just a weird move. I think they're trying to protect their home region in terms of pricing at the moment. We might see a
Yeah.
lot more of that kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Switch being cheaper in Japan soon too. Like,
Yeah. A 370 PS5. I guess it's not the disc tray version, it's the digital one, but that's a compelling value.
yeah, the Switch 2 apparently did. There was a Japanese Switch 2 for $130 cheaper. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Very
yeah,
interesting.
lots of fascinating stuff in the world.
I think it's a good point to wrap. I want to just say again, buy physical. Buy physical. It's the best. Support your mom and pop shops. If you can buy it locally, go buy it locally. I mean, I think what I'm taking away as we're coming into the last show before the anniversary one for Dual Comm, we have more opportunities and tools than ever before. You just have to, you got to work harder. You got to be more intentional, and you really have to just, commit to not just following the way the system's telling you to go.
Yeah. The fascinating thing is we don't have to work that much harder than we used to. I think we had a good period of like 10 or 15 years from the late aughts to the mid 2010s or whatever, where we had convenience everywhere and everything was fed to us and it felt great. And now we're seeing the side effects. But like, realistically, like, I just put out a video, a little self promo here, since you always ask where people can find me. A video went live while we were recording this, where I talk about the routines and rituals we used to have about what we watch and play and whatever, and how you can get that back just by building them. Like, we've built a family movie or game night with my kiddo every Friday since he doesn't have school the next day, and he's excited for that every week, and he starts trying to ask for it early and whatever. And it's that same kind of thing that I hold on from childhood of going to the game store with my dad and whatever. And you can do that. You just have to, like you said, work a little harder, but it's not any harder than it was before. It's just harder than we made it easier, and we just need to go back to like normalcy of it. And so a lot of it, like back in the day, we would have to just go through and browse and look at what games seemed appealing at the game shop or the Blockbuster or whatever. Like, we just got to get back to that. And that does require a little more effort than we're maybe used to for the recent years. But I think it's perfectly doable. We just gotta, the biggest thing is to just not want to be spoon-fed everything. Once you develop that lack of want for that, so many doors open up pretty quickly.
Just think about the film Kung Fury from 2015. you know Hacker Man, the one who hacked time. He hacked through time. That's the vibes we're channeling with this, okay? Hacker Man doesn't follow the system. He makes the system. And that's kind of what we're doing. And I think it's rad. I'm going to end it there.
Running in and out of time.
I have not seen that in so long.
It's so good.
Dude.
I will always appreciate that they freaking got him back to do that movie. Like, what other actor has done that self-aware of like a parody of themselves for a movie? Like,
well, and you're the ultra nerd on the analog pipeline, and didn't they do a phenomenal job with the VFX?
It is so
right?
good. They have both a VFX like recipe that I have it screenshotted somewhere that they used for it, but then they did literally like they just went and burned it. Burn is not the right word, but burned it to a VHS tape and captured it back. Which inspired, like, I have a whole pipeline now specifically for that, because it's just like, why not just do that? Why fake it? Why? Like, and so I'm constantly doing that, or at least using that to then build VFX pipelines for it. Like, they did so much work on that. And you can tell that it's like a home green screened movie, but at the same time, the execution of it is still so good. Like, they have some obvious stuff, like a car doing 360s after he kicks it or whatever. Like, that's not real, but like so much of it is passable for what they literally shot in like a closet in front of a green screen. That
it's insane.
It's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate you. If you're in the States, we hope you have a good Thanksgiving. We might get a party chat out before then. We might not. I don't know. Just watch over on Epos's channel, Lost Saves, and then we'll do the 1-year anniversary show in early December. So where can people find and support your work, Epos?
Epos Vox and Lost Saves on the internet. Our podcasts are on all the podcast networks, so we have that available as well.
That's right. All your favorites. Thanks, everyone, and If you haven't listened to the companion show, it's on Lost Saves channel. It's called Party Chat. It's a podcast where we respond to the comments that you leave on both Party Chat and on the dual commentary. So go check that out if you're enjoying this. We really appreciate you. Have a great week. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you again on the next one.
Woo!